We've all been there. You want to include as much stuff in the scope of the release as possible. You keep adding new features, simultaneously trying to complete the existing ones. But eventually, nothing is working the way we intended. This scope creep is an issue of prioritization. Let's talk about that. Hi, I am Romana, a digital solution designer and product manager at AltexSoft. Today, we discuss prioritization methods as you plan your first releases during product discovery. First, let's define what prioritization is. The definition I prefer is that prioritization is the process of evaluating the importance and urgency of task, thing, or event. So why is prioritization important? In product development, when we talk about importance, we are talking about value. What value can we get quickly? The faster we deliver value to our customers, the more customers we have, the better the bottom line is. Another reason is that it helps avoid scope creep, just like I mentioned in the intro. And if there is a system behind your prioritization, you are less likely to switch priorities randomly. I've experienced that when priorities were changing frequently. You know, when you start with one product vision and feature set, and then suddenly everything changes, and that's why you can't manage to complete everything on time. When making prioritization decisions, we must consider a lot of things to get it right. First and foremost, user and market needs are crucial because they are what we work for. Also, the current market state is important. This includes customer demand and market trends. If we ignore this, we might end up with a useless product. Another sad example is, after we prioritized the features we wanted, the client came in and said that we had to shift our focus because of market needs and specific client groups. So we pivoted to the new scope, putting aside what we planned initially. In terms of prioritization, I think we didn't properly investigate the market needs. That's why we failed to consider this in our prioritization process. Business value is another key factor. Will these features that we develop now bring value, financial value for our company? Urgency and feasibility are also vital. Some features need more time for implementation. It might be better to start with low-hanging fruit, which is easier to implement but still brings value. Or the other way around, we must release a large feature within the next few months to hit the conference deadline and attract investments. Aside from market and financial considerations, we must address technical issues and blockers. For instance, if we are developing a feature with colossal business value, but it depends on minor technical features from the backlog, we must fix these minor issues first to ensure our main functionality works correctly. Involving all relevant stakeholders is another important aspect. Product managers, technical architects, designers, and external stakeholders, they all bring unique perspectives to the table. For example, a product manager might prioritize a feature for its business value, while the technical team might highlight the implementation effort. All stakeholders can agree on implementing features that will be most appropriate for now. Considering these factors, how do you choose the method? There are a lot of different prioritization techniques out there. Some are better suited for ongoing projects or products, and others are more about estimating for an MVP. While it varies, no matter which technique you consider, there are two main things you need to focus on. First is the estimation's accuracy, to ensure everything is correctly prioritized. The second point is simplicity. Spending too much time on the prioritization process can become exhausting and time-consuming for everyone involved. And in the end, it might not even bring the value you were looking for. Now, I will talk about 4 techniques that I personally find the best. The first technique I want to talk about is the must, should, could, won't method, which is really simple and one I've used a lot. It's quick, easy, and clear. You break down all stories or features into 4 groups: must, should, could, and won't. To illustrate this technique with a simple example, let's think about building a children's playground. In the must group, we place mandatory features. Skipping any of these could lead to the failure of our release. For instance, a sandbox or swings might go into the must group since they are essential for children's play. The should group contains features that are great to have but not top priority. They don't have much impact on delivery success for now, but we should still implement them. Benches for parents could be in this group, as they are important but not crucial. Could refers to small-scale improvements. These usually don't require considerable resources, aren't essential, and their absence won't significantly affect anything. Trees, which make the area more welcoming but aren't necessary at the start, go here. And won't encompasses items that have the lowest priority. They aren't critical to stakeholders. Omitting them won't harm our release sprint. Something like workout equipment, which isn't necessary for playground for small children, would fall into this category. The advantage of this technique, as I mentioned, is simplicity. It doesn't require deep understanding or complicated calculations and is transparent for all stakeholders. However, there are some cons. One downside is that while it simplifies prioritization, it doesn't help with the sequencing of tasks. We still need to figure out when to implement each feature, so there is a bit of a gap in planning. Also, it lacks a focus on the big picture. By categorizing requirements from most to least critical, stakeholders might not see the overall picture of priorities. Sometimes the lines between these categories can be blurred, making it hard to decide where each feature belongs. Let's add more complexity with the Eisenhower matrix, one of my favorites suggested by Dwight D. Eisenhower. The late US president used this method to manage his time and tasks, but who says we can't retrofit that for software development? With this technique, you allocate features across 4 sections in diagram based on 2 prioritization dimensions, importance and urgency. We simply split all the features into these quadrants. The sandbox, crucial for children's play, would fall into the important and urgent quadrant. The sandbox is the highest priority. Swings, significant but not immediately necessary, would be important but not so urgent, a medium priority, as they will make an impact in the long run. Benches, while not crucial for the playground itself but needed soon for parents, could be not so important but urgent. This quadrant is about timely items that don't significantly impact the product's business aspects. Eisenhower suggested delegating these tasks to other people. It's not always possible with product development, but maybe we can outsource these tasks. Trees and workout equipment, which are nice to have but not so urgent, would go into the not so important and not so urgent quadrant. Advantages of this technique include its simple structure, allowing us to see everything on one page without decision dependencies or multiple results variations. It's also business targeted. The major difference from the previous must, should, could, won't method is the addition of the time urgency dimension. While the previous method focused solely on priority, the Eisenhower matrix adds urgency to the mix, helping to estimate more accurately and decide what features go into which sprints, especially when dealing with a long backlog that spans several sprints. However, it does have its cons. It lacks a technical aspect unless we specifically include technical stories, and it's not data-driven, lacking an evidence base. You use it when you need a quick, straightforward, and easy estimation for all stakeholders. Okay, so next up, let's talk about the walking skeleton method. Another of my favorite techniques, it's most useful for prioritizing MVP features. It's all about figuring out which user stories or features are critical for the product to function at a minimum viable level. The visualization of this technique is probably its most important quality. To prioritize using this method, we place all different epics with their related features for the product on one board. Then, we prioritize the features within each epic and highlight what will go into our MVP release. Taking our playground example, let's say we have our sandbox. In this sandbox, we need sand, waters to keep the sand in place, and we could add toys and other functionalities as desired. For swings, we need a structure, groundwork, and painting. For benches, we just prepare the basic structure and place them in the playground. With trees, we order them, bring them to the playground, plant them, and water them. We can extend this as far as we want with different functionalities in the epic and feature lines. Then you see everything in one place and highlight the scope for your MVP. We might need the sand and waters for the sandbox, but the toys can wait. For the swings, we order them and install them, but perhaps we don't paint them right away, and so on. This method focuses more on technical aspects, as we are breaking down each epic into its technical implementation. The advantages of this technique include speed and the ability to see everything in one place. We focus on key functionalities for our MVP release. The downside, we might be missing some important functionality. It depends on how detailed we make this. It's ideal for estimating the MVP product. We can easily see everything to include in the scope. The final one, and actually my most favorite, is the complexity versus value method. This one really resonates with me because it focuses on what I consider the most important factors, the value and the effort. Based on these two dimensions, we define what we should implement first. This technique is quite similar to the Eisenhower matrix because of its format. However, here the two axes are complexity and business value, each with high and low parameters forming 4 quadrants. Let's apply this to our playground example. The main idea here is to prioritize features that bring the highest value with the lowest complexity. Then we move on to features with high business value but also high complexity, followed by those with low business value and low complexity. The least prioritized are features with low business value and high complexity. In our playground, we determined that the sandbox and swings bring the highest value. The sandbox would land in the high business value and low complexity quadrant because it's relatively easy to build. Swings, on the other hand, would be in the high business value and high complexity, and they are more complex to set up than the sandbox. Consequently, we'd implement the sandbox first and the swings later. Regarding the bench, I'd categorize it as a low business value and low complexity. It's important for parents, not the main users, children, so it has lower business value. Trees would also fall into this quadrant, as they are not essential and easy to add. Workout equipment, while it might have high business value in a different context, is high complexity and not so critical for the children's playground, dropping it into the low business value and high complexity quadrant. Wondering about the advantages of this technique and why it's my absolute favorite? Well, it considers the business value, which is crucial in product development. By prioritizing features that offer the best business value with the least complexity or effort, we can deliver more impactful features to the market. Then we move on to the features with high business value but also high complexity, which naturally take more time to implement. However, one drawback is that there often isn't enough of these low-hanging fruits, features with high business value and low complexity. So we inevitably need to implement other features with higher complexity. This method works better for smaller products with fewer functionalities and features, for larger products with extensive functionalities. Combining several techniques to get a clearer vision of the backlog and prioritization might be more effective. Another point to consider is a more complex variant of this method. It entails assigning specific numbers to each feature for business value and complexity. Then, calculating a ratio for prioritization. This approach can be particularly useful for larger products and backlogs, offering a quantifiable way to prioritize features based on a clear rate, extending the business value versus complexity concept. So, choose the prioritization method that works for you and tell me about your experience with prioritization. What are the top methods in your hit parade? While you are at it, please like and subscribe. Next time we talk about MVPs, how to create and iterate on them. So stay tuned!